So for week 3, we are covering chapter 4 in the book. So you want to make sure you have read chapter 4. And then you're going to go through the lecture demo. And basically, chapter 4 deals with combining columns from multiple tables. And that is called joining your tables. And there's several different ways that you can join tables. And so what this lecture does is it actually gives you some graphics and explains what the different joins do. And I think the graphics really help visually show you how the joins work. Okay, so if you go through here, we've got the graphic, we've got syntax and examples. And then if there is a link to something that you can try online, I do encourage you to go ahead and try it. And like I said in a previous week, sometimes you can change the code. So this is an inner join. And you could try doing a left join just to see if it works. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. It depends on the coding behind the statement. Sometimes these SQL statements are actually hard-coded, and so you can change it all you want, but it's really not going to change the results at all. So if you wanted to kind of change the columns, it's a little easier to tell, you know, if it actually is running and executing your command or not. Okay, so this is the lecture. Once you finish the lecture, then you're going to want to go through the textbook assignment. And again, this is much more directive. So there are going to be videos. Okay, so we've got an inner join. You'll see a video. Table alias, there's a video. So you're basically just going to walk through this. And again, you're going to be creating a SQL file that you're going to be saving and uploading to this Dropbox when you are done with the exercise. There is a Jeopardy game you can play. It is optional. It is not anything that's required, but it covers the terms for chapters 1 through 4. And in the course resources, under week 1, 2, and 3 is where you're going to find those chapter terms. So if you click on this, if you're playing by yourself, you are just one team. And then it's set up pretty much like, you know, Jeopardy. So if you answer this correctly, you can kind of see what the answer is. If you answered it correctly, click the plus to give yourself some points and hit continue. Okay, so it's just a nice way of self-checking, and it's much more fun than just sitting and memorizing terms. The lab assignment for chapter 4 is very similar to what you're going to see from now on as far as lab assignments go. It's a lot more free format because you are going to decide on the query. So in your SSMS, you can pick any database and you can choose any of the tables. Okay, and you have to create a query, so you're going to make up the query that meets the following criteria. You need to do an inner join between 2 of the tables, and you need to retrieve 2 columns from one table and at least 1 column from a second table. And so here I have an example. I do not want you to key in the exact same thing. Okay? I'd like you to make up your own. So what this requires is a way for you to connect the tables, because there has to be a column that the tables have that is the same. So when we look over here, and let's just take a look, we'll look at Northwind. And let's expand tables. And let's take a look at customers. Okay, so just looking at the customers, I can see we have a primary key here, but there is not a foreign key. So let me look at orders. Okay, so looking at orders, order ID is the primary key, but customer ID is a foreign key, which means that you can connect and you can do a join on customers and orders, because customer ID appears in customers and it also appears in orders. Okay, so that is the column that you can join those two tables on. Okay, and the only limitation really in this particular exercise is that you do have to find a column that two tables have in common. So if you wanted to look at employees, we have a foreign key here for reports too. So that tells me that we can connect the employee table with the whatever table contains reports too. And let's see. Oh, we could also connect employees to employee territories, because employee ID is in both. Here we've got territory and region. So you're going to have to really do some digging in here. So region and territory can be connected, but you're going to have to do some digging. Take a look at these columns, because you have to figure out which tables you can connect. And that will kind of be the challenge here. So you can use any of the databases. Okay, so it doesn't have to be Northwinds. You can use Worldwide Importers. You can use any of the ones that came with the book. But all of the tasks in this are going to be more free format, so you get to make up the query. That is how you learn. Okay, so for task 2, you have to do a left join between two tables. So here's an example. Okay, and then once you do the join, you need to figure out how to do a where clause that is based on 2 criteria. So here I've got Northwind, and my criteria is going to be country is Germany and the city is Mannheim. Okay, so this is how it looks. So when you are doing this, you have to find 2 tables that you can connect. Plus, you have to kind of keep in mind that you're going to be filtering based on a where clause. Okay, and so, like I said, you don't have to limit yourself to the same database that I'm using. Okay, if you wanted to take a look at pubs, okay, you could take a look at that one. So we've got an author ID. That's the only key field there. Title ID. So you're probably going to have to expand a couple of these. Now I can see I can connect these two, the sales with the royalty schedule, based on title ID. And there's probably information that I could also filter on. Quantity would be pretty easy to filter on, and so would date. So those might be things I'd filter on. But you're going to want to do the query first so you can look at the data. And then once you look at the data, you can determine what you're going to use for your where clause. Okay, so the lab assignments are going to be a little more difficult, but there are plenty of examples. I put examples right in the assignment There are examples in your textbook assignment because you're basically doing the same thing that you did in the textbook assignment. And there's examples in the lecture. So lots of examples for you to look at. If you run into problems or if you have questions, probably the best thing that you could do is actually copy the entire query that you're having a problem with and email that query to me, because that way I can run it and I can tell you, what the issue is and how to fix it. Once you finish the lab assignment, you are going to put it right in the Dropbox. And then we have a unit test. We are not doing quizzes every week. What we're doing is doing unit tests. So they're going to have multiple chapters in them. And these tests are very similar to what you're going to see for the certification exam, which is your final exam. So the questions are going to not just be true, false, and multiple choice. You're going to have a variety of question types. It is open book, open note, but you can only take the test once. So if you have any questions or problems, please let me know. And have fun with the exercises for this week.